Plenty of water, people. It's November. Something I wanted to talk about today was the correlation between a classic film that goes very underrated, under the radar for geeky, techie films, is a film called Antitrust. And go and check out the little introduction video of this. Not the introduction video, the trailer video about Antitrust if you've never seen it. It's an absolutely amazing film. But there's this sequence near the end of the film, actually probably about 3/4 in, where the main character, the main villain, is talking to Ryan Philippe, who's the main actor in it, about this system called Synapse. And Synapse is this satellite system that goes all around the world, and it has all these satellites that they put in the sky, and there's a certain time of day, I think it's midnight, that you can talk to the satellites, reprogram them, control them for 5 minutes. And there's this sequence where all these satellites, there's 10 satellites, and there's all this there's a screen with all these IP addresses for the control satellites and if they're connected or not. And the whole premise of the film is that Synapse is this piece of code that will be on phones and computers all around the world, and it'll just allow people to connect. I mean, you could say today we've got Facebook and iMessage and all these different protocols that run the web. You could also put cryptocurrencies in there, Bitcoin and Litecoin and DTC. But if you've never seen it, it's Sunday, go and grab a copy of it. It's just under 2 hours. It's a bit cheesy, but there's some parts in there which are really cool. And the reason why I did this video is that I do wonder if Elon was inspired by Antitrust, because it's exactly the premise of what Starlink is. If you're going to have a read up on Wikipedia for the Antitrust documentation, it portrays young idealistic programmers and a large corporation nerve that offers a significant salary, an informal working environment, and creative opportunity for those talented individuals willing to work for them. The charismatic CEO of Nerve, Tim Robbins, seems to be a good-natured but new employee, and protagonist Milo Hoffman begins to unravel the terrible truth of Nerve's operation. Really, really cool. You should definitely get into it. But I truly think that Elon was inspired by Antitrust, because of the whole idea of having these satellites covering the Earth is exactly what Starlink does. So if you haven't heard of Starlink yet, I'm super surprised about that. Probably been living under a rock. But SpaceX, which is one of Elon Musk's companies that he set up after selling PayPal, and obviously he's got Tesla, they deploy these satellites, these kind of tiny CubeSat satellites, that they send them up in their SpaceX rockets, and obviously all that SpaceX stuff can return, can land, and all that sort of stuff. But every time they send some up, they send 50 or 60 of these satellites up. So I think since they've been doing that, they've probably got about 800 satellites up there. Now, it's actually going to be a mega constellation of 42 satellites up there, which is crazy when you think about how much drama and chaos 800 of them have been causing, because I've got lots of people who have just been complaining about them. Even a documentation, a PDF that I found online about the low Earth orbit satellite population and impacts of the SpaceX Starlink constellation. So there's a whole PDF document if you're interested in reading about that. There's just all of these what do you call them, astronomical, all these observers, I don't know what you call them, astronomers, are up in arms about the fact that 800's bad because you can kind of see lines of it. I think SpaceX tried to do some changes in the positioning of the solar panels on the actual CubeSats to actually stop the light brightening the sky, basically. So obviously with 42,000 of these things up there, it's going to be a little bit of chaos. Now, so far, I think they originally planned for 42,000, but now they've had about 700, 800,000 people sign up to the Starlink beta. They're probably going to be able to put up even more than that. So one of the things that I was thinking about while I've been watching what's been happening with Starlink is how many Teslas are out there. I know it's a completely different company, but in 2019, Tesla reached between 367,000 and 368,000 units in 2019. So kind of interested how many they've done deliveries in 2020. But if you think about it, Elon Musk has made all of these ioETs, as I call it, the Internet of Elons things. So he has Teslas out there. He has SpaceX, he has this Skylink, which is up there, which at some point, once he's got all of these things running, it would be very easy for his company to be like, okay, everybody who has a Tesla now has free internet and free bandwidth, automatically creating this kind of global mesh network of connected devices, being the car. So you could have things like climate. You could literally have a mesh network of a certain area of what 1,000 or 2,000 Teslas are reporting air quality conditions, for instance. And so that's kind of interesting to me, like from a power position of having all of these devices connected together, like who gets to control that data, who gets to exploit it, is there backdoors in that kind of stuff, but also the ramifications of a fully connected end-to-end global mesh network of the earth, places that have never been connected before, suddenly having an eye into those places globally. So I was reading through a bunch of stuff, but one of the things that I've been keeping up with is the social networks and people who are blogging and the articles that have been wrote about it, just to see if it's actually, doing what they said it was going to do. So at the moment, there is a beta test out there. Starlink testers will pay $99 a month for SpaceX's satellite internet. So it costs $499 for the actual device, and then it's $99 a month. And you get this kind of piece of software that goes for either Android or iOS. Very simple, very typical Tesla and SpaceX. You get a walkthrough instruction of this like disc that you just have to point to somewhere in the sky, and then there's a whole like AR VR experience, like as you're positioning that, and then it connects to it, and then it also shows you which connected devices are connected to the Starlink. So at this point I'm thinking, well, I wonder if you could have, for people who haven't got decent connectivity or relying on cell towers, or maybe you've just moved into a place and you're only going to be there for a certain amount of time, the idea of having a unit that you can have that travels with you, it's like kind of revolutionary from where we were with satellite phones that used to cost a lot of money, now actually reasonable price. But this thing can actually receive a pretty damn good signal, and while it's not going to be the same as a wired internet connection in terms of latency, the idea of being able to download between 50 to 150 meg and it costs you $100 is pretty good, especially if you are in the middle of nowhere, you're absolutely remote, maybe even far away from cell towers. The ability to get internet connectivity in those points is going to open up more of the planet for us in terms of where we're able to live and work if we need an internet connection. So I found another article, SpaceX Starlight satellite is fast, but it will cost you. A lot of people are getting hung up on the price. I think for a lot of people who are on an internet package and are not getting a decent package already at the moment, just shelling out that initial like beta testers amount of $500 and then the $100 a month, I think if you remove the question about money and just have it from a point of view of, I need high-speed connectivity, I want to switch to satellite, so you're not like encumbered by issues with mobile networks, for instance. I've also been thinking about, what if you had 2 or 3 of these units? Is there a way to bond them together? One of the applications that I used to use for my internet connectivity to connect my 4G and my home connection and other connections to it was Speedify. And you can actually download some really cool libraries from GitHub for Linux for actually bonding together connections while you're on the go using a Raspberry Pi 4 if you want to do live streaming, which is kind of cool if you're into that kind of stuff. Then I started following somebody on Twitter who said results from a Starlink beta testing in Washington State. He was streaming 440p and 4K with zero buffering on YouTube, getting a download speed of 134 with upload of 14.8, which, like for uploading videos and downloading content, it's more than enough. Getting a ping of 38 milliseconds. Remember, this is not a fixed home connection. This is a satellite dish looking at the sky, and it had like 7 milliseconds of jitter on it. And this guy also got a message back from Elon that says latency will improve significantly soon, and bandwidth as well. So all of these CubeSats, the way it works is that these CubeSats are constantly going around the Earth, and they're going to eventually have so many up there that they crisscross. and they're all in a certain kind of alignment pattern. And the way it works is that they are obviously sending a connection up to a satellite, then using lasers to fire between each one. So if you imagine having 42,000 of these things constantly rotating the Earth, and I presume they're going to have like a gap, from what I can see, a gap at the top and a gap at the bottom. I don't know where those top and bottoms are, but instead of it encasing the whole Earth, because obviously you still got to have rockets that go out of the planet and do what they've got to do, they're going to be crisscrossed. So if you imagine like paths of satellites kind of passing by each other, they'll be able to like connect across the different, like, think of it like a mesh. You'll be able to see the like lasers connecting to each one. So I don't know how they're getting around the latency issue. I don't know how they're doing that. It's pretty incredible, like algorithmic technology that's going on, but it just so reminds me of Antitrust in terms of the way that the whole film premise was built around Synapse and all these satellites. Another thing I saw was Starlink internet from space, faster than 95% of the USA. So another speed test here, 30 milliseconds, 161 down, 23 up. We're starting to see these come out really, really quick now. And this was like in rural Montana as well. So people like activating places that have never had decent connection. People don't move to places where there's, it's probably one of the top 5 things now whenever you move into a property is like, is the education level good here? What's the crime rate like? And on that list now is how good is the internet connection. So there's going to be a lot of places that have just completely been discounted because they couldn't get internet before. And a lot of those rural places are going to be incredibly cheap. It might have been that you could get reasonably good education to drive 10 or 15 miles, but what might have turned you off is not having any connectivity whatsoever. So being able to have a satellite dish or like unit on top of your house or in the back of the yard is going to be incredibly attractive for a group of people who want to move into rural locations. Last things I want to put today is I saw this other tweet from another guy, several inches of snow overnight, 4 inches on the dish, speed test before and after clearing snow, still snowing hard, reduced visibility, final location needs access for cleaning, rethinking second story roof. So with all this 4 inches of snow on the top, it dropped down to 30 download and 15 up. Obviously when he cleaned it off, back to 167 download. So there was some mention here of, I thought it had a heater built into it, which I've not seen anywhere else that says there was a heater built into it, but it makes perfect sense to have a heater that slowly melts snow on top of it. So you don't want to go and stick this on your roof right now because obviously you got to keep it reasonably clean. Same kind of problem you have with solar panels. But the final thing today is that when you read news that had just come out 11 hours ago about fiber broadband, the cost of delivering in rural areas, there's this guy here, Paul Brett, lives a stone throw from the town of Wisbech, but has very slow broadband. So he's struggling in this rural location with a 0.5 meg per second download, and it's got up to 5 meg now, but it's still in the bottom few of the country. And he asked to kind of get a connection, club together with a bunch of his friends to see if we can get BT to put a 1 gigabyte connection in the street. And he had a quote back that said something like £101,000 to actually do it. So there was no breakdown, but done some of the maths. For 17 premises, the cost per home or business will be £6,000 each, with the possibility of vouchers taking an estimated 20,000 off the overall estimate. So crazy amounts of money to be laid out just to get reasonably fast or super fast connection in rural areas. So we're not going to see Skylink here in the UK or in Europe until 2021. This is mainly a US and Canada thing right now while it's in testing. It's very much in beta test, so they're going to do a lot of things with latency, a lot of things with the actual speed and quality of the connection. And I'm kind of excited. It's definitely something that is on my radar to look into for next year. I'm really interested about the fact that I've read reports that you can actually put this on a moving vehicle. Like it will still work on a moving vehicle, which kind of blows my mind how that works. But from a point of view of Internet of Things, this is very much one of out of Elon's magic bag of Internet of Elon things, or ioET for short. If you've heard about it and you're interested in it, are you thinking of getting it? Would it improve your situation where you are with your internet connection. For me personally, just having a flat fee, it's probably going to be only like double of what I pay now, but the speed increases are probably like 3x or 4x of what I get. So I'm keeping my eyes on Starlink. I think it's going to be another one of Elon Musk's successful projects. He's already putting up 4 new astronauts into space today as part of a NASA mission. And I think if you've got any money to put into stocks and shares, Tesla, SpaceX, Starlink, any of these new revolutionary ways of using technology are definitely going to be hitting their stride by 2021. All right, I will catch up with you soon. Take care.